welcome to AdVice, where we drink coffee this time and give you advice on your advertising. Today with me is David Teller and Brittany Degnan, and I'm Aiden Eaton, your host. So I think we've had a little bit of an argument brewing in here already about logo priority. What do you build your logo for? And where do you start? So if you're given a branding project, right? I'll kind of go deeper into this, but if you can, where do you build the logo for? Is it for the storefront? Is it for the website? Is it for the packaging? Where do you start? And how does that affect your logo process?
Definitely, it depends on the business, depends on the industry. If you're going to be majority storefront, so restaurants, you're looking to design first for the storefront. If you're going to be focused on reaching an audience via signs, design first for the sign. For every other web business or any business that it falls in the middle, design first for the web, and then make it work for the storefront and the signs. It's always going to be a spectrum. I mean, you always got to adjust here and there. It's not going to be perfect anywhere. But look at the colors you're choosing on all these different things and different lighting. Understand how it's going to look on different surfaces.
So I was thinking something a little bit different.
Yeah.
And that was just because I'm thinking of big picture. Like, what if you want to expand? So when we were talking about it earlier, I was saying, well, Dave posed the question, like, what do you start with first for the brand? So my thought is you should think of them all at the same time, because no matter what, you need the logo for everything. So if you expand into different spaces, no matter what, you have your brand standards already. Your logo can go anywhere. So I think you should design it that way, where you can put it in any place.
If everything's a priority, nothing's a priority.
Well, I hear what you're saying, but I still think that to go ahead and build out brand standards first so that everything is consistent.
And I'm not disagreeing with you there. You do still have to build out all of that before you finalize your branding. But when you're designing your logo, what is going to be the most important placement of it?
Okay. I understand what you guys are saying too.
You got to have a starting point.
Well, and I do think it does depend on the business.
Mm-hmm. It depends on your color choice too. Some colors are a lot more difficult to work with. Bright colors, neon colors aren't going to work on a lot of different platforms. Where if you go for a more subtle color or pale color, it works in a lot more situations, a lot more flexible. It's just not going to stand out as much.
Right, but if you're building out your brand standards first and foremost for everything, then you have different color choices that you can use.
Most businesses that are starting out really have to keep it simple though. And not to mention most businesses that start out don't have a brand standard.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, they could though. It's not hard to build brand standards.
It's not.
That's not a hard thing to do. To think to yourself, like, what do I want my brand to look like and represent? What colors do I want to use? And then in that color choosing, in making those brand standards, in finding those fonts, you're standardizing everything. So then at the time that you need to move on and do something different, you already have all of that.
Mm-hmm. And I would agree with you that at the base level, it is an easy thing to do. And I know you're good at it.
Yeah.
I've done it a handful of times. I'm not good at it. And I know this because I've worked with brand designers that have done it for Fortune 500 companies, and it's astounding the difference. I mean, they're coming in with full booklets with everything like laid out. The mission statement aligns with the colors, aligns with the logo, aligns with the styling. The overall persona of the company is all figured out and laid out. The audience targeting aligns with your mission statement, aligns with your branding colors. There's a ton of research you can put into it if you have 50 hours to spend on building out a brand standard. And if you are building a company that scale, there's a lot of value in building out something that deep. But that's not easy. I can't do that.
Yeah.
It's
a lot. it is a lot. And I think maybe that's something people don't see as often, especially starting out a business.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get to see those massive 50-page brand standards. You kind of are the brand. I feel like a lot of people who start businesses see the brand as themselves.
Right.
And they're like, I already know the brand. I don't need to write this down.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But it comes in, I agree with you 100%.
Mm-hmm.
At first you're just focused on getting the work done, bringing in revenue.
Mm-hmm.
You're not worried about building the brand out of the gate. But definitely the first thought there is like when you bring on the second, third, fourth person onto your company, they don't have the same vision unless you communicate it.
Yeah.
So that's really what it comes down to, is just being able to communicate that vision to the rest of the team so you are all on the same page.
Yeah.
That's true. I think that when you're building out your logo, though, you can still be thinking of like, okay, what are my color choices going to be?
Mm-hmm.
And have multiple. And like people can't, I mean, I guess some people do create their own logos.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people do.
A lot of people do
Mostly,
create their own logos, and then that becomes like their standard.
Until it's an issue.
Right.
Yeah. Which
we run into.
I think you have your colored logo, and you have a black and white version of your logo, and then, in my opinion, pretty much no other variations.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the best brand managers that I've ever worked with, they were insanely strict on implementation of brand standard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everything was scrutinized, and a lot of stuff was turned down or sent back.
Right.
A lot of merchandise got sent back because it did not meet the brand standard.
Right. And I think that, well, that's, I'm not really thinking about it that way either, though, as like a huge company, because obviously that's going to be different. But I'm just thinking like very basic brand standards.
But I think the value of what we bring in this conversation is those lessons and those practices from a big company and how they be implemented at a small company level.
Right.
So even if you never plan to be 1,000, 5,000 person company that's on the Fortune 500 list or whatever, implementing those best practices early on in a small company gives you a leg up.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Consistency.
I definitely agree too.
So there's a lot of importance there, and it does come down to really nitpicking things. And for a lot of small business owners, that's not what they want to do.
Yeah.
You have to force yourself to implement that level of scrutiny. I mean, it is important for protecting your company. It is an investment in your company. And when you go to sell your company, that's going to be important. That you don't have 20 versions of your logos out there on the web.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same color. It's cohesive across the board.
Right.
So, yeah, think early about it. Think a lot about it. And then change very little about it.
Right. I think I mean, you can hire somebody to create a logo for you.
That's what we're here for.
Right.
Yeah.
And that designer can build those standards for you. And it doesn't have to be expensive to do that, to build something very, very basic. So I think that should be something that small businesses look more into. Definitely. When they're starting out, because having your name out there, especially if it's like you were talking about earlier, if they're like a company that they need a lot of signs, or they need that logo for brand recognition because they're working out of their home. So there isn't anything anywhere about that. They don't have a website. They don't need a website, whatever it might be. Or they only need like a small website. They still need that really good brand logo.
Yeah. Something to tie it all together.
Right. So that there's recognition, and then that recognition can build over time.
Absolutely. And I agree with you that it doesn't have to be expensive, and any little bit of help that you can get, the better. And the earlier you get it, the better. But
don't do it yourself.
Yeah. Agreed.
Unless you are a really good designer and you know that you're a great designer, I don't recommend doing it yourself.
Get some help. Another set of eyes is always super valuable.
Yeah. Amazing. I think that's all we've got for today. But, if you enjoyed our conversation, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And we will see you next time. Cheers.